Hello ST314. This video will show you how to create a C chart in Minitab. And so to do that, we're going to use the example 510 from our text. And to get the data set, we'll click here on ST314 Control C Chart. Press open. It'll automatically open a Minitab data set. Again, I've assumed that you've already accessed the Umbrella server and are in the Blackboard page to get to this point. Press OK to upload the data. All right, now this data describes the number of accidents in a 10-year period at a major industrial facility. So the company would like to reduce the number of accidents over time. Now, if we allow lambda basically to be a rate parameter, and our rate parameter to be the number of expected accidents during a 3-month period, the accident rate then will be really closely monitored. The number of accidents are recorded for 40 of these 3-month periods at this industrial facility. And that's what our data set here is explaining to us. So these are the 40-month or the 40 different periods, 3-month periods, and the number of accidents associated with that 3-month period. Okay, so if you're looking at lambda and thinking, that reminds me of the Poisson distribution, then you're on the right track. Again, remember with the Poisson distribution, we were considering rates, or the number of counts over a time period. So that's exactly what we're doing here. And so to estimate the population rate of accidents, we want to do a phase 1 control chart as we've done in previous examples. So we need to first do the first 20 subgroups to estimate then the population rate of accidents, lambda. So how do we do that? How do we create a control chart that will do that? So press Stat, Control Charts, go to Attribute Charts, and C. Here, click on Number of Accidents. C Chart Options, we've done this a couple times, so hopefully it feels familiar. Click on Estimate, and then we want to exclude all of the 21 through 40 for our original estimation. Now press OK. Press OK. All right, and here we are. Here is our C chart for the number of accidents. Okay, and again, we could change the title. In this particular case, it's actually a pretty nice title, so there's not a lot we should change here. So how can we describe this C chart? And is this process in control? Okay, well, again, the C chart is displaying the between group variability over time. So how much are the number of accidents varying between these 3-month periods? And we can see that the process seems to be pretty stable given all of the observed number of accidents are within the control limits. And so it seems as though the number of accidents also though maybe be decreasing over time. So not only can we see if whether the rate is in control, we can also see that over time it looks like most of these are actually below this average rate of C bar. So perhaps this will tell us that any sort of measures that they're taking to decrease the number of accidents are working. So we can tell a little bit more from a control chart other than just whether or not it's in control, out of control, stable, unstable. So in this particular case, we see that perhaps their efforts to reduce accidents are working. Okay, again, let's describe what C bar is. So C bar is basically just our estimate for lambda, the true rate of accidents per the 3-month period. So here we're estimating that per 3-month period, on average, we will expect to see 6 accidents. So again, just in chapter 3, when we were dealing with counts over time or weights, we would consider this Poisson distribution. So why is this important? It's important because the estimate for lambda is not only the estimate for the average number of accidents, but also the variance. Okay, if you remember in a Poisson distribution, the average is lambda, and the variance is also lambda. Therefore, C bar is the average number of accidents over the first 20 observations, and it's estimating not only my variation in the rate of accidents, but also the average in the number of accidents. So again, we should believe that Minitab is doing what we want it to do, but let's verify that, given this is the first time that we've created a C chart. So we can do that by verifying by hand the lower control limit and the upper control limit. So refer to the handout. I've provided the calculations to do that. And it really does look like we have a 0 lower control limit. Now, in reality, the actual control limit that we calculated was a negative number. Well, we can't have a negative rate or negative counts, so it just becomes 0. Next, the upper control limit is 13.3. Now, this is possibly just rounded, so don't worry about rounding errors too much. Okay, so it looks like Minitab is doing what we want it to. What are the assumptions made for the C chart to be valid? So this is kind of something that you need to think about as well. We assumed that the estimate for lambda was both the mean and the variance of the rate accidents. This will only be valid if the C chart remains in control. So if we start to see that the C chart is out of control, then our assumptions start to fall apart. Okay, so for your homework this week, I have you also creating a C chart on your own. So let's go ahead and upload that data set and look at it so we can verify the C chart for your homework example. So here, that will be the engineering department calls. Go ahead and click on that. It will again open up a whole new Minitab project. Press OK. And here you just have a list of calls. Okay, scroll on down. Here we have 40 calls. In your example, for your homework, we want to be able to create a control chart and make the estimates based on the first 20 subgroups. So we're going to go C chart, variables, calls, C chart options, estimate, and 21 through 40 we want to omit from the estimation of C bar and the control limits. Press OK, and here is our C chart of calls. Okay, for your homework assignment, I would like you to follow that and be able to replicate this C chart of calls. Okay, you will need to be able to create these charts in Minitab for not only the C chart, but the X bar chart, the R chart, and the NP charts. So if you're curious on how you are able to get this particular chart into a Word document from the umbrella page to either a Microsoft Word document in the umbrella page or outside of the umbrella, you can simply right-click on the graph, press copy graph. You can either exit out of the umbrella by minimizing, don't press X, just press the minimize button, and it'll actually bring you back to your normal computer home screen. And so here, this is a copy of this week's homework. I would simply click into the homework assignment, press paste, and voila, I have my C chart of calls here. And I can minimize this, make it smaller, but now I've copied in my graph from Minitab on my own desktop instead of the umbrella. Now if I want to get back to the umbrella, I simply click back into the remote desktop, and here I am. There it is again. Okay. Hopefully this was able to answer a lot of your questions about control charts. Please refer to the text or this week's brief notes and handout to be able to understand how to interpret these control charts.